It says, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus. My race and your race, the marathon of life that we have, are completely different. Some of us will come in hand for a time period and we'll walk together and we'll make sure that each other get to the end of it. But if my focus but in that time, it's almost like when you hear, and I feel like I'm kind of going everywhere, but if you look at relationships, and I remember hearing this a long time ago, I want to be with somebody who's more in love with God and who's so in love in God that they can find me. So I should be in love with God more than I should be in love with my wife. I should be in love with God more than I should be in love with my children. I should be in love with God more than I am in love with my family. Because if I am in love with him more, if my sight is set on him, if my sight is set on what he's doing, if my sight is set on who he is and what he transforms and how he transforms and how he changes my life, and if my focus is in the goal that is Jesus Christ, I won't stumble as much. I'll still stumble. You're still going to fall. You're still going to go, but you know where the goal is. And if you have a goal in mind, if there is a reason for your existence, then there's a reason not to quit. So then you focus so much, and it's almost like becoming obsessive with God. If you become so obsessive with God, now there's a goal to focus on. Now there's a reason to continue going. Now there's a reason for existence. Just like how people would say, I will die for my children. I'll die for my wife and all this kind of stuff. Yes, that's all nice and dandy. But if you're not willing to die for Christ, our love for him should be that much that we're willing to die for him, do everything for him, and whatever consequences may come, as long as we are doing the right thing. Mind you, all of this is just the first part of it, okay? Because I literally had to go back. Because he sits there, Elkanah sits there and asks, it's like, why are you being downhearted just because you don't have what someone else has? Just because you don't have children? Why aren't you eating? Aren't I enough? And it got me thinking, is like, if you're consuming of him, if you're consuming of God, if you're consuming his word, why, what reason do you have to be sad? What reason do you have to be depressed? What reason do you have to be anxious? What reason, and I know these are commonly used, but what reason do you have to be worried? And mind you, no matter how deep you are into God, it's easier said than done to be like, oh, well, your life is fine. Why are you so sad? It's easier said than done to be in God and be happy or joyful all the time, because life throws different wrenches to distract you, And I've always heard, while you're growing up, if God is in your life, you should be content with just that. God is enough. God is more than enough. And yes, that statement is true. God is more than enough. It's even biblically true. Okay. But it's the hardest thing for people to come to grips with. And the reason why it becomes so hard is because we don't have the patience to allow God to work in his time. And the reason why I say that is we don't have the patience. Yes, the path is narrow. We don't have the patience, but we're also being rushed by everything in life. We're rushed by tribulation. We're rushed by comparison to other people, because we're like, oh, well, I should be in a better place in my life because somebody who's 21 years old all of a sudden became a millionaire. We're rushed by the situations in where we're losing everything. We're rushed by the words of others because everybody else is trying to say, we need to do now, we need to do now, we need to do now, we need to do now. I was like, well, why aren't we doing it in God's timing? If God is so powerful, if God is so grand, if God is so great, if God is so almighty, why are we allowing it to happen? And the reason why we allow it to happen is that we're going to be able to go back to the beginning. It's our flesh. I always hear this thing, and I have trouble with this, okay? Where people stop because they see nothing coming from it. And I've stated this before, people stop praying during the good because the good is there, and it's like, oh, I don't have to worry now. So then it leads to the bad, and then it goes to the ugly, right? But God's power is so great in these situations in our life. But it's hard because we don't see God's power for what it is, okay? God's power is, you think about this, all right? For 7 billion more, maybe more people to wake up every day, okay, whether they believe in God or not, is proof of God's power alone. We expect his power to show itself in these great things, in these grand things, in these grand moments, these grand gestures, that we forget that God's power is dealt in to simply our ability to breathe without thinking, our ability to see without and block out different things without us questioning it. It's so grand that your body, without you even knowing, sends you the signals to bring motion into your body, to bring the life, the things that you need to function daily without you even having to worry about it. And to do it for you and 7 billion others all at the same time. For there to be just enough pressure outside in the atmosphere that the plants can grow, that there can be light at a specific time so that you have enough time to rest at night, so that there can be, just enough money in your bank account so that you can have food, so that there can be just enough of the day so that you can get your stuff done, for you to have just enough energy for you to be able to function throughout the day and your children not go to the wayside. And so I go back and again, I'm going back to the things in the Bible, and I love adding the word to this. I think the word speaks to me a little bit more than just, but going to Exodus 15:6-8, your right hand, O Lord, has become glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, has dashed the enemies in pieces. And in the greatness of your excellence, you have overthrown those who rose against you. You sent forth your wrath that consumed them like stubble, and with the blast of your nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The flood stood upright like a heap. The depths congealed in the heart of the sea. This is literally talking about when the Lord parted the Red Sea. If you don't know, or if, because it's out of context, obviously. But him simply blowing breath from his nostrils caused the waters to gather together. Again, breath, right? Air that comes from the Lord, causing things to have an action. For instance, he breathed life into us. He continues to breathe life into us every time that we wake up in the morning. I don't know if anybody ever knows this, but I've read this a couple different times. At night, you technically die when you go to sleep. Your body paralyzes itself, making it stiff to the point where if anybody were to look at you, your pulse slows down completely to the point where it's almost near death. This is why sometimes when you go to sleep, you wake up from a dream, you wake up gasping for air, because your body hasn't gone through the process of slowly bringing you back to life in the morning. Because your body it slows down its breathing so much. This is why when they tell you to relax, they tell you to slow your breathing and relax it. You slow your breathing almost to the point like you're dead, almost to the point like you're asleep. So technically speaking, if you want to exaggerate a little bit, you die every night and God brings you back to life every single morning. So then I think about his power some more and how he can say words like this in Exodus 14:13-16. And Moses said to the people, because the Lord had told him, right? Do not be afraid, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and the Lord shall hold your peace. And the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward, but lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. It's not easy to tell somebody, God's got you, just go on and do it. It's not easy to start a ministry and be like, don't worry about it, just start it. I'm going to bring the people. People expect it to be like a flood of like, oh, the Lord told me to do this. And don't get me wrong, I've had the same expectation. I'll speak for myself, okay? God told me to because I'm gonna be completely honest. I did these podcasts out of this being obedient, okay? And I was like, okay, if God's got me doing it, then obviously I meant to reach a bunch of people. I'm not gonna lie. Throughout these streams, and you can look at the numbers. The max I've ever had is 6 or 7. Okay, who listened to it live? I've had a total of 300 and something people listen to the podcast from different places. Which I'm not trying to boast. All right, 300 and something people is a lot of people. But we've gotten so used to, oh, they have 1,000, they have 1,000,000, they have this. Oh, they only have when you really think about it, having even 10 people who follow you on Instagram or social media or anything like that is phenomenal. Because maybe what I'm doing right now is only meant for a certain number of people to impact to somebody, whoever needs to listen to it at that moment, and that's it. But you think about this, okay? It's not easy. No one can just tell you, go and do this and I got you, not knowing what's going to happen. It's very hard to listen to. It's very hard to even think about. And God's like, I got you. You do it. I'm going to take care of everything. You do it. I'm going to make sure that the path is open. You do it. I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. And you're sitting there looking like, but I'm starting from zero. I'm starting from scratch. And it's like, don't worry. I'm going to fight for you. I already told you, I'm not going to leave you nor forsake you. I will open the path for you. But focus on what I'm telling you to do. Don't focus on what you see behind you. Yeah, you see Pharaoh coming. Yeah, you see people coming to chase after you. Yes, the chariots are coming and they have spears in their hands and they have swords in their hands and they're ready to come and bring you back, whether by force or by fire. But what I'm doing is much more important than that which is chasing you. Worry about me, consume of me, focus on me. And we're going back to the first point, really. Focus on what I am doing for you, and that will be enough. Which leads me to the next verse that I picked up from this in 1 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. For those of you who have dealt with major illnesses, with depression, with and I'm gonna put my sister out here, with leukemia or with cancer or with whatever the case may be, he literally tells to us, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. When I am weak, then I am strong. God takes these times, he takes these things, he takes what is coming at you, and like I said before, he'll take whatever people think is a problem and use it for his glory. He'll take these moments where you think everything is crashing, where the pressure is falling on top of you, where you feel like everyone's abandoned you, where you feel like everyone has laid you to waste, where you feel like no one's understanding what I'm saying. Why is it that when we talk there's an argument? Why am I being accused of these things? Why am I having my head bitten off, when the reality of it is, God's trying to bring you to the fact that it's not of your own doing.